Have you ever wanted to speak German but just felt stuck on where to even begin? Well, get ready, because in the next 5 minutes, we are going to build your very first real German conversation from scratch. No fluff, just the essentials you need to actually speak. Let's get started. And hey, we're not doing this alone. To help us out, we've got these little guys. They're going to be our guides, walking us through every single step of a natural conversation. Think of them as your personal language buddies for the day. So, here's the deal. By the time we get to the end of this, you will have all the key phrases you need to introduce yourself, ask about someone else, and say goodbye, all in German. It's a complete conversation. You ready for this? Let's jump right in. Okay, before we learn a single hello, we have to talk about the absolute most important thing in German conversation. Seriously, this isn't just about vocabulary. It's about showing respect. And it all comes down to knowing the difference between du and Sie. You can think of this rule as the master key to being polite in German. Picking the right you shows people that you get the culture, and honestly, it's the foundation for everything else we're about to cover. If you get this right, you are already making an amazing first impression. So let's break it down. It's actually pretty simple. On the left, you've got du. That's your casual, informal you. You use it with friends, family, kids, people you know well. Easy enough. On the right, we have Sie. And notice it's always capitalized. This is your formal, respectful you. You're going to use this with strangers, older folks, in any kind of business setting. Here's the pro tip. If you're ever in doubt, just use Sie. It's always better to be a little too polite than not polite enough. All right, now that we have the golden rule in our back pocket, we can actually start talking. So let's kick off our conversation with the absolute basics, saying hello and, of course, asking for a name. Here are your 4 main ways to say hi. Hello is kind of like the universal hello. It's simple, friendly, and works almost any time. If you want to be a little more specific to the time of day, you've got Guten Morgen for the morning, Guten Tag for the afternoon, and Guten Abend for the evening. Honestly, Guten Tag is a fantastic one to remember because it covers most of the day. And boom, right away, you can see our golden rule in action. See that? To ask what's your name, you'd ask a friend, Wie heißt du? But in a more formal situation, you'd switch to Wie heißen Sie? Did you also notice how the verb, the word heißen? Okay, awesome. We've said hello, we've swapped names. The conversation is actually happening. So what comes next? Well, usually you'd ask where someone is from, and of course, ask how they're doing. And would you look at that? There's that pattern again. Woher kommst du is the informal way you'd ask a classmate or friend. Woher kommen Sie is that formal version you'd use with a shopkeeper or a new colleague. The basic words are the same, but it's that little change from du to Sie and the verb ending that makes all the difference. You're starting to see how it works, right? Answering this is super easy. You just say, Ich komme aus, and then your country. Ich komme aus Canada. Ich komme aus India. For most countries, that's all there is to it. Now, there are a few exceptions, like Switzerland, die Schweiz, that need a little extra word, but don't even worry about that for now. Ich komme aus is the key phrase you need. Ah, the classic, how are you? This is just essential for any polite chat. Informally with a friend, you ask, Wie geht es dir? A lot of the time, you'll hear this shortened to a super casual Wie geht's. For more formal settings, you'll use Wie geht es Ihnen? It's just a perfect example of how German bakes that concept of politeness right into its grammar. So what do you say back? Well, hopefully you're doing sehr gut, which means very good, or maybe just gut, good. Now here's a crucial tip. Always try to say danke, thank you, and then ask the question back. You'd say und dir, informally, or und Ihnen, formally. And if you're just feeling so-so, es geht is a super common way to say I'm okay. Okay, so we've been using all these phrases and we've seen these little patterns pop up. Let's take just 1 minute to peek under the hood and see what's actually going on with the grammar. I promise, it's way simpler than it looks. This table right here, this is basically the secret decoder ring for German verbs. Just look at the endings. Whenever you say ich or I, the verb almost always ends in an I. See? Komme, heiße. When you use du, the verb gets an st at the end. And for the formal Sie, it gets an N. That's the system. Now, the verb sein, to be, it's a bit of a weirdo. It's irregular. But ich bin and du bist are so important, they're definitely worth just memorizing. And here is where it all clicks into place. Look at this example. Ich goes with komme, with that I ending. Then the question flips it around to du, so the verb has to change to kommst, with the st ending. It's not random at all. It's a predictable pattern. And once you see that pattern, the language really starts to open up. Well, we've had a fantastic conversation. We introduced ourselves, we asked where we're from, we asked how we're doing. Now, there's only one thing left to do. End the conversation politely. You've basically got two main choices here. Auf Wiedersehen is the classic, more formal goodbye. It literally means something like until we see again. But day to day, in almost any casual situation, you are going to hear tschüss all the time. It's the simple, friendly, go-to way to say bye. All right, you've seen all the puzzle pieces. You've seen how they fit together. Now it is your turn to actually speak. This is your chance to use everything we've just learned and put it into practice. Okay, here's your 4-step challenge. I want you to pause in just a second and try to translate these lines into German. Just think back to everything we covered. For number 2, remember to use the formal you. For number 3, remember that Switzerland was that one special case we mentioned. And for number 4, you've got both the question and the answer. Go ahead, pause right here and give it your best shot. And that's it. You did it. Seriously, you now have every single piece you need for a basic, polite, and totally complete conversation in German. You know the golden rule, you know how to say hi, how to introduce yourself, ask some questions, and say goodbye. The biggest takeaway here is this. You are no longer someone who knows zero German. You're a German speaker who just had your very first conversation. The only question is, what will your next one be?